remember, we'll always see you in the shadows.
All right, so it's fun, so whenever you want to start talking.
Hi, this is Krista Cesare from the C2D1 Haunting. You're listening to The Shadows.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Welcome to another Monday night here on the Shadows Radio. I am Rebecca.
I'm Cara.
And we are happy to be back.
Happy Monday.
Yay, it's Monday.
Yay, it's Monday.
You know what? I gotta say, it's actually a decent Monday because I had like 4,000 work projects due, and they were all due last Friday, and I got them done, and now I had like nothing, and it was great. Today was a pretty chill day. I did like a whole lot of nothing. Is that fun? I can say that, right? Because nobody listens to our show. So, yeah.
Hey!
Nothing.
She did nothing all day. Nothing.
No, but and then I had like this weird kick over the weekend where I went and I like organized the crap out of my basement. So, for those of you who don't know, our studio is in the dark, shady dungeon. But now it's not even dark and shady because like I cleaned it.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right?
It's not. How are you going to get into the mood with it not being so dark and shady?
What I do to get in the mood is none of your business.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's not that kind of show. That's not this kind of show, man.
Sorry, that's the other shows. Ow.
Wow.
Okay. So on that note,
hey
now, how's it going?
Ow.
I don't know. Sometimes being clean puts me in this really weird mood where I'm happy, but I'm not happy, but I'm totally happy.
Well, yeah, because it's very it's cleansing. I know what you say clean, but it's like cleansing for like the soul because it just helps so much. Because when it's like when things are in disarray like that, it causes disarray all over. So.
Well, for me, it's more just it makes me twitchy. Like I have to put the stuff away, but at the same time, like I'm in the middle of doing something, so I don't want to get up and put the thing away.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then when I finally actually take the time to actually sit down and do it, like it took me like 2 hours to literally pull everything off the shelves, and, like dust busted the crap out of the shelf. I'm like, and put everything back and throw away a bunch of junk that we didn't need, and put a bunch of stuff up on like the marketplace or whatever the selly things are, just try and get rid of them and clear some space. But anyway.
Yeah, no, it's
I forgot I had. It was great. But
it's good to get that stuff done,
No, there's a segue. Ready?
Uh-oh.
No. So next time you're cleaning your basement, download the Shadows Radio podcast. You can find us at Podomatic, Podbean, or all your other favoritist podcasty places. Especially if you go to theshadowsradio.com, all your options are there, or you can download directly from our archive itself and listen while you are on your cleaning kick, because everyone gets those kind of like urges every once in a while to start cleaning crap.
Yeah, maybe and I'll tell you, that's one of the things I do when doing that kind of stuff is listen to podcasts.
Yeah, see, we're perfect. And you don't have to focus too much on what we're actually saying. Like, you can kind of like fade in and out. No, sorry. I mean, focus on everything we say.
We don't go too deep so that, you don't have to use your brain. How about that?
Don't tell them that. We are experts in our field.
Wait a minute. We are? Oh, okay. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I got that confused with professional because we already discussed this, saying that if we were professionals, we would be paid for this. But we're not.
If we were professionals, man, we would have been fired. Especially since we're 8 minutes into the show and haven't actually said the word ghost yet. Ghost. Sorry. No, so, okay, fun stuff. I was thinking about the fact that it's Halloween on Wednesday. It's like, we should do something Halloween-y. And then I look back at all the other Halloween shows that we've done, and we've already done all the Halloween-y things. Like, we've talked about the origin of Halloween. We've talked about the pagan rituals that go with Halloween. We've talked about trick-or-treating. We've talked about this and that. And I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about something totally unrelated to everything.
Well, I love the fact that you said you used the word Halloween-y. So, anywho.
All right, you don't be a Halloween-y, okay? Just go with it.
Going.
So I was trying to think, I'm like, what kind of cool things do kind of always pop up right around this time of year? And I always get the inevitable, oh, well, everybody posts like, here's our top 10 haunted houses, and here's our top 10 this and that. And one of the ones that I found was, here's top 10 haunted dolls. And I was like, I hate dolls, so that's a perfect topic to talk about.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding?
I despise, okay, so I grew up in a house with porcelain dolls all around my room. My godfather, I think I mentioned this on the show before, but my godfather bought them for me every year. And they went up on the shelf, and they kind of stood there and collected dust, and then now they're in a box in my basement. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with them, because I don't want to get rid of them because they're, they were a gift, but I also don't want to put them out because they're creepy. But I never really had a problem. Just the fact that these little faces would just stare at you all the time. They didn't do nothing but stare. Mm-hmm. But then you start hearing all these creepy horror doll stories, and you get movies like Chucky, and you're like, never mind. No
dolls.
I actually had a doll named Corky from the 80s. I don't know if you remember Corky, but he was one of those ones where you put a tape in his back and his little mouth moved, his eyeballs moved, but he looked like Chucky, down to the red and yellow striped shirt and the suspenders and
Ew! I thought Teddy Ruxpin did that, but
well, he does too. But Corky, I'll have to pull Corky out next time you come over, and I will show you Corky. And mine, I accidentally left it out in the sun one time, and I put the tape in, and so it was all slow. It was like, hello, hello, and you're like, holy, that's just freaky. But anyway, so that started my love-hate relationship with dolls. But in doing a lot of this research and stuff, I feel like every single haunted doll, it always revolved around Annabelle and Robert the doll. Those seem to be the two big ones that everyone talks about. So I wanted to find ones that weren't kind of the top of those. They weren't. It's not Annabelle and it's not Robert the doll. I do have research on Annabelle that we'll talk about if we have some time. But like I said, I want to start with some of these other ones.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I found some different ones, and I was kind of excited because you always, when you do look up that kind of stuff, you find the same ones over and over again. So it's kind of fun to find other things that kind of think, oh, well, maybe there's more to this. Because it's not just...
There's no more to this. There are no talking dolls. Go away. And just for clarity, any of the ones that are listed on eBay as haunted, I didn't include those. I pretty much included ones that were more urban legend-y.
Yeah.
Or that have ended up in a museum or in a, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I went on, actually, in doing research, I found that Etsy has about 3,000 listings of haunted dolls. That's Etsy. That's not even eBay.
Well, I thought Etsy had to be stuff you created.
That's what I thought, but I literally found 3,000 entries for haunted dolls.
So are people capturing spirits and throwing them in dolls? Here, I damn you forever to be Barbie!
Well, some of the dolls were for Halloween kind of stuff.
Like a decoration?
They decorated, or they just took a doll and kind of painted it.
I gotcha.
But there were other listings that were actually that said they were haunted dolls. But most of them say at the end, for entertainment purposes only or whatever. That whole spiel. So I didn't go any deeper into that because I thought, oh, you know what? This is not what I was looking for, but I'm really surprised that Etsy had that many entries for it.
Yeah, I wonder, a lot of them are probably, I'm going to guess that a lot of them are probably, that weird, design thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they took a doll and they revamped it kind of thing.
Yeah, or a decoration, I guess.
Yeah. I'm saying, but when I did look into it, there were a few that said, this is a haunted, possessed, or whatever doll. Yeah. And it was just really? Etsy? Come on. So.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to stay away from those ones just because, I don't know, I feel like there's more validity to a urban legend than there is to an Etsy listing.
Exactly.
Nothing against Etsy. I bought a few things off of there that I liked. Not so much anything haunted. But, all right. So the first one is called Poopa. And it's just fun to say Poopa.
You just wanted to say that on the radio. That's all it was.
I did just want to say that on the radio. But Pupa had the same owner from 1920 until 2005 when the owner passed away. The original owner says that Pupa was alive and always considered the doll to be a beloved friend and confidant. They would talk to each other, and supposedly Pupa even saved her owner's life on occasion. When her owner died in 2005, the family reported that the doll had become extremely active. The display case where Pupa is kept reportedly fogged up and revealing the word Pupa hate on the glass itself. Pupa is also said to move around within her case and make tapping sounds on the glass, things like that, like within the case. And supposedly one family member actually managed to record the doll walking around in the case, but whenever he tries to upload the video to YouTube, the video appeared to be obscured by a thick white film, and the words Pupa no are visible on the film in childish handwriting.
Yeah, I read about this when the family had said that Pupa does not like to be confined.
Yes.
And also, I found out that the doll was primarily made of felt, but had a head covered in real human hair.
You know what? And I'm wondering if that is where a lot of these come from. A lot of these, as you go through the research, is like, oh, made of real human hair. You're like,
yeah, and you're like, whoa.
Maybe that's your problem. Stop making dolls out of human heads. But just for descriptor, Pupa is, as you said, mostly a felt-bodied doll with a plastic or kind of like a porcelain face. I'm not sure if it's porcelain or plastic face, with a closed mouth, blue eyes, real human blondish hair. And she has this blue kind of coverall dress on with a big, giant blue bow in her hair. And you can actually hit up YouTube and look for Pupa videos. Most of the ones you're going to find are from, people talking about Pupa rather than the family trying to,
Right. Actual.
And Pupa, just for clarification, lived in Trieste, Italy. Which is actually, ironically, the name of the restaurant around the corner from my house that makes really, really good ravioli.
How about that? You have a connection to Pupa.
I do. But so supposedly the whereabouts of Pupa are currently unknown. But no one's really sure exactly kind of where she came from. Pupa is 14 inches tall. Sorry, I left that out. And, only had one owner for 80 plus years.
Oh, then she was really connected to that doll. Do you think that perhaps the doll is now, the owner, the little girl that owned it, her spirit went to the doll because she was so connected to it? I mean, wouldn't that make sense?
That might be it. It's the, imagine you spend every day of your life talking to a dog, and then the dog, and then the person that, talked to the dog every day passed away. That dog's going to start looking for, like, where's my connection? Where's my person? Why are we not talking anymore? So I could see the doll doing the same thing. Like, if this woman talked to this doll every day for 80 plus years,
right,
and then all of a sudden just, obviously passed away, the doll's like, WTF, like, you left me behind, you jerk. But also things I left out, but something like seeing Pupa's hand pushed against the glass, trying to open the door, her legs would be crossed when, she was previously standing or something. So.
Right.
So interesting. And somebody asked in the chat room, is it Pupa? It's P-U-P-A is how you spell Pupa. So, I don't know. Anyway, interesting story here of Pupa the doll. Is a good one to start us off with. And a lot of these had these really bizarre, and a psychic said that a child, attached itself to this one. Pupa did not have that story.
No, I mean, it's just been with the same person and the family for...
And she fully accepted that Pupa was a person. I'd love to see the videos, though. What I wanted to try and find was the Pupa no and, Pupa hate, the video, supposedly the images of the glass and the video that were uploaded, but I couldn't find those either. So I don't know what, if he uploaded it and it actually had, the white film with Pupa hate or whatever on there.
That would be interesting to see,
yeah. You didn't leave that up there. You should have left that one up there, man. But
yeah, no, it'd just be interesting to see that.
Yep. All right. So the next one that we're going to talk about, we're going to move away from Pupa. What was I going to say? I had one more thing to say about Pupa, and I forgot what it was. So it must not have been super important.
It'll come back to you.
It will, like tomorrow morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about is called and I'm going to mispronounce this and I apologize, but it's from Singapore and yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's the Pulau Ubin Barbie. So this actually is a Barbie doll. That's not a coincidence of a name. It actually is a Barbie doll. But at the beginning of World War I, the British were looking for German spies in their colonies, and they investigated one German couple that was living in Singapore around 1914. According to records, the German couple was caught and arrested, but their young girl ran away from the soldiers who came to raid their home, and she ran off into the darkness, only to lose her way at some point, trip and fall over a cliff. The soldiers found her dead at the bottom of the cliff the next day. The town people in Pulau Ubin, it's Pulaubin, erected a shrine to the little girl with a porcelain altar that contained a lock of the girl's hair and her the porcelain urn on the altar that contained a lock of the girl's hair and her crucifix. In 2007, a man from that town had a dream 3 nights in a row that a young white girl in torn clothing would pull him along the street, leading him to a local toy store and point to a Barbie that was on display. After the 3rd night of having the dream, the man went to the local store and found the Barbie in the exact spot it was during his dream. He bought the doll and placed it on the shrine, replacing the urn with the girl's hair. Townspeople now bring the doll offerings of lipstick, perfume, and small candy, hoping the girl will bring them luck or heal them. And it's said that the spirit of the young girl now inhabits the body of Barbie. And if you look at this picture, like they full-on decked it out with, ceremonial robes and leis and all kinds of interesting
wow
decoration. But they really do believe that this little girl brings them good luck if they bring this Barbie, different offerings and stuff.
That is pretty amazing. A Barbie. And just to think, I just played with Barbies when I was young, and like Malibu Barbie. And now, and now they have every Barbie, has every occupation known to man.
Well, there is also a ghost hunting Barbie, apparently, but I wasn't able to find a record of that. But the one source that I was looking at to talk about this actually said that Barbie made a spooky Halloween Barbie, but I couldn't find an actual photo of it or a reference of it in any store, so I don't know how true that is.
Interesting.
I just find it bizarre. Okay, so this little girl died somewhere in and around 1914 or World War I, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Barbie was not invented for another 40 years, 30 years, 40 years? I'm trying to think exactly. Barbie was in the 50s, right? Like the mid-50s?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So like another 30 to 40 years later, Barbie was invented. So did this little girl wander away from her little shrine, find the Barbie, and say, buy me that one? Or was it just a coincidence that it was a Barbie doll?
Well, I have, okay. So my story, my haunted Barbie story, let's see, pretty sure a teenage daughter fell from a cliff. That's how she died. And then local townspeople built a shrine for the little girl near the cliffside. Fast forward to 2007, when an Australian man began having dreams of a dead German girl who guided the man to the local toy store. Once there, she pointed to a Barbie doll in the display window. He had this dream 3 nights in a row and convinced this was the German girl from Singapore. He went to the toy store and bought the very doll the girl had pointed to and took it to the girl's shrine. Now hundreds of people believe the soul of the German girl now lives in the Barbie.
That's what I just said, except you have an Australian guy and I had a local man from the village.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's interesting, though, that mine says 2005, yours says 2007.
Yeah.
And you had her as a teenager. I just had her as a young girl. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's always fascinating to hear the differences, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, he's just having a dream that, maybe that's what the doll she liked, maybe she, I mean, because who knows?
But if she was really a teenage girl, I don't necessarily know that as a teenage girl I would play with Barbie. I think I was over Barbie by a teenager.
I think most girls are, to be quite honest. And I mean, most girls I know don't even play with Barbie anymore. It's many younger girls, but I don't know. I mean, maybe because this girl didn't have toys, she didn't know what it was, and as a spirit, if she's coming in someone's dream, she liked the Barbie. I don't know. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
I guess better a Barbie being, if you're going to possess something, I'd better a Barbie doll than like an urn with your hair in it. I guess if you have to make that choice, I guess that's
if we if we have to choose.
I know we're being super irreverent, but still.
It's just a little crazy, and especially since, the stories change in each on different websites. So.
All right. So the next one I got is Okiku, which is from Japan.
This is the one I like, but I couldn't find the story.
Oh, okay. So the legendary Okiku doll is named after a girl long ago who used to play with it. It's a 16-inch tall or 40-centimeter tall kimono-clad figure with beady black eyes and black hair. It's resided at the Manenji Temple, Mannenji Temple in the town of, oh God.
Just give it your best shot.
Iwamizawa.
There you go.
Iwamizawa, since 1938. According to the temple, the traditional doll initially had short cropped hair, but over time the hair on the doll has grown to about 25 centimeters or 10 inches long, which is down to about the doll's knees. Periodically, monks trim the doll's hair. However, no matter how much they trim, it keeps growing back. It's said that the doll was originally purchased in 1918 by a 17-year-old boy named Ichiki Suzuki while visiting Sapporo for a marine exhibition. He bought the doll on Sapporo's famous shopping street as a souvenir for his 2-year-old sister Okiku. Mm-hmm. The young girl loved the doll and played with it every day, but the following year she died suddenly of a cold. The family placed the doll on the household altar and prayed to it in memory of Okiku. Sometime later, they noticed that the hair had started to grow on the doll. This they took as a sign that the girl's restless spirit had taken refuge in the doll. In 1938, the Suzuki family moved to Shakalin, and they placed the doll in the care of the Manenji Temple, where it has remained ever since. Nobody has ever been able to fully explain why the doll's hair continues to grow. However, scientific examination of the doll concluded that the hair on the doll itself is that of a young child. So whether the doll was made with this hair or, as they are implying, the doll's hair changed to the child's hair when she died is unknown. But I did find one site that said they actually did a kind of a weird scientific experiment where they cut the doll's hair and then they put a ruler next to it. Mm-hmm. And it took like 6 months, but it did grow like an inch. So with this ruler next to it.
That is interesting.
It's a really cute doll, though, if you look at it. It's like this little, charming little... I don't even know how to describe it. Oh, so cute. I don't know. I find it charming. It's a little pretty, she's got a pretty little kimono with this jet black hair and little porcelain face.
It's just, it's intriguing to know that they actually did these tests and found that the hair grows, and it's, I guess you just want to believe that she was connected to that doll and, thought, I want to stay with my family. If my you know what I mean? Like, yeah. If my family has me here, I'm going to sit in this doll so I can watch everything and see everything, and I want my hair to grow.
So supposedly, the Okiku spirit that haunts the doll actually inspired the movie The Ring.
Oh, okay.
So in 1998,
that's pretty creepy.
Ringu, and then 2002's Ring involved a girl, a well, and a cursed videotape. Basically, if you watch the videotape, this girl would come out, and you were dead or something.
Yeah, you're gonna die in like 3 days or something like that.
Yeah.
And they could have just showed the video of that girl crawling out of the well, like 50 times in a row, and that would have just creeped me out because that was just creepy in itself.
It was a terrifying moment. So that was it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm gonna be afraid of wells now because I don't want.
Don't go near the well.
I don't know if there are any wells around here. That seems like unnecessary.
Did you, in your research, did you come across the dolls of Satan?
The what now?
The dolls of Satan.
That sounds like a really bad roller derby team.
It does. That's so right. Or it's a great name for a band. Right?
I feel like it's a really lame metal band name. Sure.
I mean, dolls of Satan.
We are the dolls of Satan.
Hello, Cleveland. Right? Come on. Anyway, I found this one about the dolls of Satan and this came back. This went all the way back during the 1800s in New Orleans, and I thought this was really cool because it said during the 1800s, many affluent families lived in New Orleans. One of those families had a daughter who was ready for marriage. The young woman had had a secret affair with a boy in town, but was arranged to wed a wealthy Scotsman. When her lover found out, he sought the help of voodoo queen Marie Laveau. The girl was married and she became pregnant, but she did not give birth to an ordinary baby. Instead, she gave birth to a grotesque, deformed monstrosity everybody believed to be the spawn of the devil. The good people of New Orleans began to believe that the baby would wander the street at night and attack anyone in the streets. Some began to believe that by carving a likeness of the baby into a gourd and leaving it on the porch would protect them from Satan's child. To this day, the devil gourd dolls are still made, and many believe they are still cursed objects courtesy of Marie Laveau. Is this where pumpkins came from? Jack-o'-lanterns, I wonder.
Not directly, I don't believe, but it sounds a lot like.
Yeah, I mean, they made these things out of gourds, and I thought that was pretty creepy.
Aye. Okay.
Well, I wanted to talk because they called them dolls, and because they made the voodoo doll, but they just use the gourds and to protect them from Satan's child. So, and then they still use it, and it's like,
all right, so
I wonder if that's.
Hold on, let's try a second. What did they call that thing?
What thing?
What was the name of the gourd that they?
Where did it go?
I don't know.
The devil gourd dolls.
Devil gourd.
That's how they have it written on here. I mean, they're pretty creepy dolls that they have. Actually, it looks like they look like they're really pretty voodoo dolls that they put on the picture. But to this day, they say the devil gourd dolls are still made.
Okay, interesting. I've never heard of that one. But no, I believe the jack-o'-lanterns came from, I believe they were Irish. Yeah, it was a carved root vegetable. It was a way of protecting one's home, from evil spirits and stuff. And there's the Irish legend of Stingy Jack, who was a drunkard who made a bargain with Satan and was doomed to roam the earth, and is only turned away with a pumpkin on your doorstep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now there's a the Devil Baby Doll of New Orleans. It's on YouTube if everybody's interested. Yeah, there's several videos about the Devil Baby Doll of New Orleans. I had no idea.
That was one I didn't know and did not come across. So
and therefore, I'm never going to New Orleans.
Oh no, definitely have to go there because that seems fun. We should go. We bring a gourd.
We're bringing a devil gourd doll.
Yes.
Oh my God, you got to say that 10 times fast.
Okay, so let's talk about another one. You want to talk about one from Australia?
Oh, sure.
Okay. This one just creeps me out. All the pictures of the stupid doll are just freaky. So the doll's name officially is Letta Me Out, Lettameout, and that's the name given to it by its current owner. But it's known as Letta for short, so we'll call it Letta because calling it Letta Me Out the entire time would be really, really weird.
Creepy.
So Letta Me Out was originally found underneath a house in Wagga Wagga in Australia. It's just fun to say Wagga Wagga, by the way.
Yeah, well.
Mid-1970s. Kerry Walton was visiting his childhood home when he decided he wanted to revisit a childhood haunted house abandoned down the street from his parents. He broke into the home, rounded the corner, and came face to face with this doll in the basement, sitting up in a chair. Walton apparently named the dog Let Me Out because of its gypsy European heritage. Supposedly it's over 200 years old and hand carved. So he took it to a museum who verified that there were 200-year-old nails in its feet holding its shoes together. Its hair was human, and underneath the hair wig was the likeness of a human brain. Not only did we carve the doll, but we carved the doll's brain. They also suggested that the doll was a marionette rather than just a doll. So it was actually a puppet.
Right.
But obviously the strings had been long gone. So Walton gave the doll the name Letta due to its European gypsy heritage, and also because the doll occasionally screams, "Let me out," supposedly. The doll walks around at night, leaving small doll-sized scuff marks on the floor, and objects often shift as if the doll is moving things around while no one's home. And the doll has actually moved while people have been in its presence. No one has been able to actually videotape the doll moving, however, as the doll, whenever a camera or video camera comes out, the doll obviously plays dead. Dogs also go into hysterics, snapping and barking at it, attacking it as if it was some kind of predator that they should be, fearful of. And Walton actually had to get rid of his family pet because it would not behave around the doll, and he feels like the doll is tied to him, and he cannot actually get rid of it. He tried to sell it twice, and both times broke off the deal.
Wow.
Let's see. On more than one occasion, women have broken out into hysterical weeping or fainting around the doll, which might just be weird people. But Letta, like I said, is said to move of his own accord, changing positions, or sometimes pulsing, like it's having a heartbeat or breathing when someone's holding it. A psychic claimed to have read the doll and said that a child who drowned inhabits the doll, and while she was doing her reading, a clock fell off the wall when she was talking about drowning, so she surmised that the child drowned. And she says the head of the doll itself moved as she asked if the child was male. So she surmises that the child is a male who drowned. Another psychic who read the doll claimed the doll was a likeness of a 6-year-old boy who had died from drowning. She did say that the doll maker did put in some facial exaggerations, which is why, in my opinion, it looks like a 45-year-old man. But, 6-year-old boy, sure. And if you're interested, Let Me Out has his own Facebook page, and he updates regularly.
Oh.
And talks in the first person. Kind of like Robert the Doll also has one. If you want to follow some haunted dolls on social media, like I said, Let Me Out and Robert the Doll both have Facebook pages. But, if you have a minute, you should Google this guy because he is creepy. Even just, looking at him, supposedly it's supposed to be a 6-year-old boy. It looks like a 45-year-old man with this long brown hair and this green suit that he's got on with these kind of colonial-era shoes. And he's just creepy. But you can actually visit him if you contact the owner before your trip. He will allow you to visit with the doll. The doll also holds lecture series. Series?
Oh, series?
Yeah. So you can gladly, attend a lecture held by the owner of this.
Interesting.
The doll. Yeah, I don't know. It's a creepy doll. If anybody's in the chat room, I just threw it in the chat room because, holy crap. But supposedly, if that's a 6-year-old boy, that is one.
Oh, good Lord.
6-year-old boy.
That is creepy.
He's got these angry eyes. It looks like he's designed to be angry. I don't know why, but I look at this thing and I say, that is not a happy puppet. That puppet is designed to terrify people.
Right. That's just wrong. That's wrong on so many levels.
So this guy is making money off of, the puppet or whatever. But at the same time, he got the puppet by busting into a haunted house that,
An abandoned house,
An abandoned house. So, really, he should give it back.
Well, really, anything that happens with that puppet in his house and creeping him out is, he put it upon himself, so.
Yeah, well, that's true. But it does say a couple of times, I did find several instances where he tried to sell the doll. He did put the doll up for sale on several different occasions. And like I said, a few times, he actually drove to the location where he was supposed to meet the purchaser, and all the times backed out and said that he designed, that he's there, for the long haul, that this is his doll and this doll is bonded to him. and that he is not giving him up.
Very strange.
Yeah. So, I
Nope. Hey, whatever floats his boat.
I know. I do, like I said, I don't know. If you would like to follow him, I'm going to put his... Oh,
Put his Facebook page.
Facebook page. Whoops, it got really long for some reason.
Wow.
I'm going to
Let me out.
Yeah. He's a creepy doll.
Yeah,
But
that is a creepy doll.
I digress.
What else is on your list?
I don't know. I got distracted by Let Me Out's eyebrows.
Okay, so I found one that's called Peggy, the doll who gives you chest pain.
Okay.
Which calling it that just cracked me up. But it's from England. Jane Harris is a leading paranormal investigator in England who deals almost exclusively with dolls that are haunted. One day, Jane received a package and a letter in the mail, and the package contained a blonde-haired doll, which just looks like a normal, 1950s short blonde-haired doll. Just like normal any day. Anyway, in the note, a woman said the doll's name was Peggy and that she was haunted. Jane began a case study on the doll and posted many photos and disturbing videos of Peggy online. Soon she began to receive letters and emails from people who saw the photos and videos and claimed that Peggy caused them to experience nausea and intense migraines. One unfortunate woman even suffered from a heart attack after looking at a photo of Peggy, and mediums have reported that the spirit of someone who died in the Holocaust dwells within the doll. So I don't know where the doll came from. This is just from the person who received the doll and has it right now. I have a picture of it, and I've seen the picture. Nothing's happened to me yet.
Oh, so even just seeing a picture would
they're saying that, even seeing just the picture is supposed to, cause problems. But also, this Jane Harris, who is a paranormal investigator, she is apparently a big name in the world of possessed children's toys. She has a website called haunted-dolls.com, and she has a Facebook page where she sells or helps to facilitate the sale of at least $1 a week, and is highly regarded and well liked in the community. And apparently this community doesn't buy or sell the possessed objects, they adopt. Yeah.
Do they trade money?
I have no idea. I didn't get that far.
If you're trading money, that's called buying and selling.
Yeah, but I just saying that they don't say that, they considered adopting.
Well, yeah, sorry. No, I buy a dog from a dog shelter too. Sorry. I know we call it adopt, don't shop, but guess what? You're actually buying a dog.
Right, exactly.
You're just buying it from a rescue.
Mm-hmm. But I just thought, she's apparently
from all the angry, dog lovers. But I'm not saying I don't love dogs.
That's just the way it is, but it's also
you can put a cute fluffy name on it, but you're still buying.
Right. Just something a person who actually deals with this a lot, and you could follow her on Facebook, so you might, if you're interested in that kind of thing, and might be able to find some more information out, and find more haunted dolls. Who knows?
All right. Well, speaking of dolls that just randomly pop up in the mail.
Hey,
I got another one. So the doll named Mandy.
Yeah.
So Mandy was donated to the Quesnel and District Museum in British Columbia. She showed up in 1991. The turn of the century porcelain antique doll. By turn of the century, they mean 1900s. Antique doll with a white dress, a cracked face, and a small lamb toy. The doll, which was called Mandy, according to its previous owner, had belonged to the donor's grandmother. But rather than being sad to part with what should have been her treasured family possession, the woman seemed anxious to drop it and run. She claimed it was getting old, was fragile, and she didn't want her young daughter playing with it and further damaging it. Mm-hmm. The owner or the curator of the museum at the time asked the owner, wouldn't it be safer if you wanted to keep it safe just to put it in a box away from the prying eyes of a child? But she said no, and she donated it. The clothing was quite old and faded, and the soft, stuffed parts of the body were ripped in places. But the doll's face itself was realistically painted, had glass eyes, and The forehead over the doll's right eye was cracked, causing the eye to protrude slightly, like it was intently peering at onlookers, and gave it a really creepy vibe. She gave the impression right away that she liked to watch people. It made people feel uneasy around her, especially when the activity started happening. The doll was taken first to the conservation lab and placed in a plastic bag. This is common in museums. They'll put items in a plastic bag to make sure that there's no bugs, especially if the item is made of any kind of soft material. So they put them in a plastic bag, they seal it, and if there's any bugs in the plastic bag, they know that the item has been infested. So this is a fairly common practice, like I said.
Right.
So they put the doll in the plastic bag, they threw her in the conservation lab. Well, they probably placed her gently. And so while she was going through this test, people working in the room swore they heard the bag rustling, and they saw the doll changing positions. After the initial test was done, they took the doll out of the bag, photographed it, and was left in the lab uncovered overnight. The next morning when the staff re-entered the lab, they found it had been messed up. Smaller objects had been thrown about the room, and across the floor, larger, heavier objects had just been pushed. So imagine your child had kind of like a fit and a tantrum of like being stuck in a room. It's like, no, you left me here.
And throwing things around now.
Yeah, so they cleaned up the room, and they said that anytime Mandy was left in a room by herself overnight, this is what happened. She threw a little tantrum and knocked everything over. The doll finally went on display in her own little glass case, starting out in the front of the museum, but slowly being pushed further and further back as patrons claim that she causes them great unease and uncomfortableness. So once she was on display, photographs taken of her would not turn out. They'd be blurred. They'd have strange light anomalies. All kinds of weird things. At one point, a psychic actually inquired as to whether or not she could hold the doll because she said she was being drawn to it. The curator allowed her to hold the doll and said that she felt like the doll had suffered a lot of abuse, but it wasn't the doll itself who was suffering. It was the spirit that was connected to it. And this is the story that she told connected with that kind of reading of the doll. She says, supposedly a man was walking past a farmhouse when he thought he heard crying coming from within. The child's cry was odd because the house has actually been emptied and abandoned for so long there should have been no child present in the house. He walked up to the drive, knocked on the door, and nobody answered. The crying continued to seem to get louder, so he had to look around. He entered the empty farmhouse, and he said, based on looking around, he discovered the crying came from below. He wasn't sure how to access the cellar from the inside, so he went out to find the external entrance. He opened the storm doors, and at the bottom of the storm cellar doors was a young girl, long dead, laying on the floor with the doll held in her arms.
Oh my gosh!
Not sure why the girl was in the cellar in the first place, whether it was by accident or some form of crime. However, they believe that the doll was Mandy, and that the little girl's spirit decided to inhabit the doll. So after this psychic reading, the curator of the museum went back to the original donor and asked, kind of why she had decided. And the original owner, who's, I guess, granddaughter at that point, said because there was crying, and the minute she inherited the doll from her grandmother, there started to be this child's crying in her house that she couldn't get rid of. But ever since she dropped the doll off at the museum, the crying had stopped.
Wow.
And the museum has claimed that there was no crying that everyone's ever reported, just the doll shuffling around in her little crate. So that's the story of Mandy.
Yeah, that's pretty
Kat
creepy.
says no one liked being left in a plastic bag. Kat, the tantrum was after she got removed from the plastic bag. So it was post-plastic bag, pre-glass case. So this was kind of in her little free period, she decided to throw a little tantrum. But she's like the quintessential creepy doll. When you think about creepy dolls, Mandy is kind of it. It's got the crack on the face.
Yeah,
White
it's
clothing with a little, like, it's a doll holding a doll kind of thing. It's got the little stuffed lamb toy.
Yeah, and the thing that I pulled up, it said to anytime someone attempted to photograph a doll, their cameras would malfunction. And it says even creepier is the fact that when Mandy had been placed in the same cases as other dolls, the other dolls become damaged or on the floor of the display case. So, like, it took a fit. Like, I don't want to be sharing my space.
Dang it, I'm the important one.
Yeah, like, why aren't I front and center?
Well, she was for a while. They had her like right at the beginning of the like when you first walked in the museum, she was kind of like dead center, like when you walked in, and people were saying she's creeping me out, so they started moving her further and further back, and now she's kind of tucked in the back corner of the museum.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Yeah, but apparently they put Mandy in a glass case. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh boy. I don't know why I find that so funny.
I got nothing. But just for clarification, Mandy is the name that the donor's grandmother actually gave the doll. So that is not a name that the museum came up with. And they do not believe that that was the name of the little girl who died in the basement either. Like, I think that's just the name that
the baby doll was given.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And there has been no further research on whether or not the story of finding a little girl in the basement has ever been proven true. So that's just a supposedly that's what happened. Now,
legends.
Well, as I said, like the donor's grandmother never said how she actually came across and owned the doll. So
right.
Just for clarification purposes.
Just for clarification.
And on the note of clarification, before we jump into another story here, I know we kind of talked about some of the major stories, or these kind of like obscure ones. If you're interested in some other ones, Robert the Doll and Annabelle, they are everywhere on the internet. Just, a quick Google search will find you 4,000 sources on these. So.
Oh yeah, you can't.
That's why we kind of stayed away from those, because they've been done, and if we wanted to find you something new.
Yeah, I wanted to find new haunted dolls. Did you come across one called Joliet, the Cursed Doll?
I did, but I did not put her on my list, so why don't you tell everybody about her?
Well, I just thought this was weird because it's just kind of like a story that's passed down, so it's sort of like legend, I guess. Because it was many years ago, a woman discovered she and her husband were going to have a baby. Delighted by her good fortune, she shared the news with her best friend. That friend had been trying to have a baby for a long time and was intensely jealous. The friend acquired a doll with a terrible curse and gave it to the pregnant woman as a gift. 9 months later, the woman gave birth to a healthy baby boy who mysteriously died 3 days later. After the death of her son, the woman began to hear her baby's cries emanating from the doll. A few years later, the woman had a baby girl who grew up and acquired the doll. Her son also died 3 days after being born. For 4 generations, the women in the family all had sons who died on their 3rd day of life, and each could hear the sounds of their crying babies come from the doll. That's where my story ends. Like, it's like nobody, there's no where's the doll now, and it's not, there's no, names to anything. It's just, sort of like the way they do the story was like that. It's just a legend, Well,
that's probably because there is no, there's no way to check that down,
Well, I guess if maybe the family had it, it could be just, something, like a family thing, and nobody, like if that's something in somebody's family, they don't want it to,
Yeah, no, I understand. But I listen to all these and I say, is there a way to kind of set the spirit free from the doll? Like, I know with Annabelle that the Warrens did an exorcism and then they sealed her in a glass case with, holy water and salt and all these other things. With Robert, he just kind of hangs out and they treat him like he's one of the family. But some of these other dolls, it's like, if this really is a little girl trapped in there or a little boy trapped in there, whatever, like there's a child's spirit trapped in this doll, why would you not try and find a way to release the spirit so they can have some kind of peace? These dolls aren't doing any harm in the respect that they're not, actively trying to hurt anybody. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of them are pretty evil, But on the other hand, like I said, if this really is a kid that fell down a well, or a kid that, fell into the basement, or like you got the one that drowned, like, all these different children that are tragically passing away and getting tied to these dolls, shouldn't we find a way to set them free? Or are we just jerks by keeping them locked up in a cage? Like, hey, look, it's my tortured child's soul in a box. Like, isn't that...
Yeah,
Are we kind of jerks by doing that?
That's what I say. And now I just looked up this thing about this doll, and there is more to it. The family still has the doll, and it is a curse that the family has continued with. But it just doesn't. It just seems like, well, why do you like this? This is a thing that was passed down to generation, and each generation has lost a child. At some point, do you say, all right, should we be stopping this?
Yeah, maybe it's time to hand this off to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's find somebody who can help us.
Yeah, blow the thing up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know exactly what you do in these cases. Well, most people get.
Is there a way to kind of end these cycles? Like I said, set the spirit free, or if they really are like tortured children's souls, set them free. Or if there are more dark, sinister things going on there, is there a cure? For lack of a better term, is there a way to stop the?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time we see these things handed over to those museums. How does that stop anything?
But again, if it's an innocent child spirit that got tied in there, then are we jerks for putting the thing in a box?
Exactly.
Or if it's something more evil, why the bleep don't we get rid of it? Why are we locking it in a box?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's like, why aren't we doing something
or something?
Yeah. It seems bizarre to me. I mean, just to find the stories to begin with and then go like, well, why aren't we doing something? Like, why isn't somebody changing this? I don't, yeah.
Maybe you
it's
can't.
Very strange.
Maybe
something we'll have to look into.
Maybe it's impossible.
Impossible.
Yes.
Impossible. Okay.
You don't like that?
It could be. I like that. It could be impossible.
I am science.
Oh my goodness. And on that note.
What?
Oh goodness gracious.
All right, well, anyway, it was fun diving into some of these. A lot of them, like I said, if you just look up haunted dolls or most haunted dolls, you'll come up with like 101 different lists.
Well, I mean, and also a lot of great articles popped up, like the history of creepy dolls on the Smithsonian website popped up.
I'm sorry, you were excited you read that day.
I was, because I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. Like it dived into like why people are creeped out by dolls and
because they have little faces and they don't blink.
Yeah. Well, and then also did they did, it was about some studies they did, and it was very interesting. Yeah. So I mean, not only did we just find a list of haunted dolls, I found a bunch of different articles about why people are creeped out by them, and it's mostly adults that are creeped out by them.
And the fear of dolls is called.
Well, wait a minute. The fear of dolls as a proper name. It's called pediophobia. It's PEDIO phobia.
Yeah, pediophobia sounds like something pedophile-ish.
I know.
Like, I don't know that necessarily would tie that to dolls, but okay.
Hey, the fear of puppets is called puppaphobia, and there's puppa again.
But the other one's poopa.
Poopa, puppa, whatever.
Poopa.
Okay, poopa, puppa, whatever. All right, it's all the same.
If you have poopaphobia or puppaphobia or pediophobia, let us know what your creepy dolls are doing, and look up some of these. And go. Everyone should follow Let Me Out there on Facebook because he's funny. I was reading through some of like the posts that they put up there. And whoever runs his little social media is pretty funny.
Oh, well, that's good. Then that means it's entertaining.
It is. And Robert the Doll also has a very entertaining, entertaining Facebook page as well. So you can follow both of those. I don't know if any of the other ones did. I didn't dig that deeply, but. If you have any haunted dolls in your possession and you'd like to send us over so we can try and do an exorcism on them, Cara will gladly accept them at her house.
Sure, why not?
Absolutely. And we can go from there. All right, guys, we are at the end of our rope. So, as always, I'm Rebecca.
I'm Cara.
And we'll see you in the shadows.